We're going to call ourselves the Center for Healing Racism. Because if you take damaged people and enter into a process to start the healing, you make them a lot more powerful. So, the Center for Healing Racism. So now, we're going to have to start upping our game. You see, all these people are coming now. One night, 100 and some people came. We were not even prepared to handle that many people. And in the very beginning, a lot of people from the Unitarian Church found out what we were doing, and they showed up. And a lot of them are still in our life. One of them, I have to say, Sandy Boyd. She belonged to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Bannon all these years. And until this very day, she is really totally connected to the center. And what her commitment to herself, when she showed up, I'm going to take this to my church, I'm going to take it to my workplace, and I'm going to take it to my family. And she did all of that. Still standing. And so how are we going to do this? We have to have an arena that's safe, that's respectful and loving, in order to give people the opportunity to examine their own racial conditioning. And see, I've said that word sentence twice, so let me look at it. Let me give you a vision what I'm really talking about. In 35 years of our existence, we have never, ever re-traumatized, re-damaged people by calling them a racist. We don't do that. Because there's no way I can traumatize you calling you a racist and then disguise the organization under healing racism. Those two things don't go together. And especially when you know, because you've had an opportunity to attend all of these conferences nationwide and to be able to have one of the facilitators of a university say in that workshop setting, to call a white person as a racist is a fear only second to death. Did you hear what I said? A lot of people will never enter to any type of program that racism is in its name because of that fear. You know, it's very interesting, God bless you, because I thought at one time it was public speaking was the fear second to death. Well, you see, public speaking is third now. So, we're never going to call anyone a racist. But we're going to have this conversation and we're going to talk about racism. So the way that we have learned to keep it respectful is to say we're going to come together and explore our racial conditioning. And everybody in this country have been conditioned without exception. Every one of us. And so, we put together a program. And because there was such a need, we have been in 48 states now. I have no idea how many cities. We have traveled to Canada, to Austria. We were invited by the government of Japan to go to Japan, but you know, at 83 years old, you better kind of keep your butt on the ground, let me tell you. And so I said, no, thank you. I said, well, can we send somebody to your program so you could train them? Yes, you could do that. Across the Atlantic. Next thing, the government have had people come to the United States from all over the world globally. And we have worked with people from all over the world. And the people that we worked with, we got these long dossiers on all these people because they were important people in their country that we were working with. But now, the other thing that you didn't know, our first office was located 5200 Fannin Street at the First Unitarian Universalist Church. We were housed on the second floor. But the other thing that, other than all of the other Universalist, Universalist church we've gone to work all over Florida, I was looking at the brochure and I was counting all of the ones that we worked in within the general location. And I was asked the second time they invited us to come back to Boca Raton, Florida to do a workshop, if I wouldn't mind doing the service. And 2 weeks out, all of a sudden I thought about it and I said, Chair, I think what ministers do, they have to prepare a sermon. And you haven't prepared no sermon. And that was a little daunting for me. What in the world am I going to say? So when I stood up to speak that morning, I said, I examined myself and I wanted to understand what method would I use. Would I be like Jeremiah Wright, who was the spiritual advisor of Barack Obama before he became president, and bring down hell and damnation? Or should I be like Bob Shively at the Unitarian Universalist Church, very intellectual? Or should I be as humble as Mother Teresa? And then I decided, no, I'm going to be Cherry, and that's what you get. So let's look at this thing and look at what we are talking about. I've had the wonderful, good fortune to meet some of the heavy hitters around the subject racism. One of them being, and you probably all know her, and that's Jane Elliott. In 1968, when Martin Luther King was assassinated, she took her third grade children and wanted to give them an understanding what discrimination was all about. And so she divided them by eye color, brown-eyed, blue eyes. Raise your hands if you know Jane Elliott. And know of her, that's her, and her work. Well, she's still in my life. She's 90 years old. She's not traveling now, but she's still powerful as ever at 90. So, one of the things that she said, it's very hard to get a handle on racism, because the moment you think you got it figured out, it cold switch on you. It changes. It's almost like one of those things that we grew up watching all these Star Wars movies, and there was a shapeshifter that can shift at any given time. That's exactly how racism is. And people, let me say to you, it has shifted. It has shifted in a way that it's never before happened since the civil rights laws were passed. Because laws have been passed now that forbid your children from pre-K to 12th grade to know anything about the history and the lives and the cultures of other people. It has shifted to the space that universities are shutting down their DEI offices. It has shifted to the place now that many of corporate America, Walmart, have no longer will have diversity, inclusion, equitable conversation. It's changed, it's shifted. So I say to you, like Jane Elliott said, the moment you think you got it, it changes. And then she also said, and let's face it, this deck is rigged. 90 years old. So in looking at this, the song that you chose, One World, if we could really internalize that, What we have been doing for 35 years is even asking people to internalize oneness. Internalize it. For many of us, we have the oneness thing. Oh yeah, we all remember the same human family. We have it up here. And in fact, in many churches, on Sunday morning, they sing the little song, Jesus loved the little children, all the children of the world. We are also told that we all created equal. And in fact, we've been told everything that was in that hymn that was sung this morning. But we got it up here. The sinner is asking you to move it here, where it will really make a difference. And when you move it, you remember I said violence also comes out of your mouth? For me, to different human beings, it's different races. This is Cherry speaking, nobody else. From Cherry, it's a form of violence, because you are keeping this cycle of separation in motion. Because as long as I'm going to look at you as the white race, and you as the this race, and you as the black race, and all these other things, that I'm keeping us separated. Why is it, if you're going to sing the song, that you don't internalize that? And I say to people, if you don't have a word that really reflects who we are as human beings, to reflect our oneness, make up a word. Make up a word. I will never ever use different races. I will say different ethnic groups. I will even say people of different hues. I'll come up with anything. When you have families like mine, my husband is white, blonde, blue-eyed, Austrian, not an American. When people ask me, oh, you're in an interracial marriage. No, I'm not in an interracial marriage. I'm in a marriage with a human being that happened to be a different hue than myself. Started out speaking a different language, but he's not a different race. These are tidbits of how we're going to really live out what that song really said. And maybe that song should be sung for the next few Sundays. That's Cherry speaking. When the candle was being lit, and I have been in many Unitarian churches where the candle was lit, and several times I even put a stone in the water that the Unitarian Fellowship in Houston have a practice of doing. But if I were to light a candle today, I would light that candle for a long-time member of the Unitarian Fellowship Hall in Houston, Texas on Worth Road. And that candle would be for Harold Rudd, who spent many hours with me, that came to my house and sat around my kitchen table, that came to the office. And it was always such a joy, because he was the one that would bring the contribution from the church. Rather than put it in the mail, they gave him an excuse just to come to my office and sit out and we just hang. That was a hurtful death for me. So if I was to light a candle, I would light that candle for Unitarian Harold Rudd. And with that said, let me say with the greatest sincerity that there's no work for me greater than what I've been doing. And I have been in front of well over 1 million people. And in being with that many people of every hues that the Creator put on earth, and to know this is my last words to you, and I really want you to keep it going. I want you to just look around this room. And it's really powerful when you have a room full of people, all different hues and countries and language speaking. I want you to just look around and do it anyway. Just look around. And as you look around this room, I want you to internalize this. As human beings, we came in this world as little children, wanting and desiring connection to all human beings. See, that's how little children are. That's how we started off, wanting and desiring connections with every human being. If we had not been tainted by racism, sexism, homophobia, xenophobia, that pure little child that wanted connection would have stayed that way. So if racism have robbed us of our nobility, I will say to you, reclaim your nobility. Thank you.
What a powerful message. Thank you so much. We are really grateful to have you here with us today. Now we will join